Okay. So let's see. If I remember correctly, the mission was set up as Aaron pitched it to us as a go supply these people sort of mission.
Well, what happened, or the premise behind it, was we were supposed to be going to this other little dinky town to establish trade relations between them and Stargell, which was the kind of bigger town that we had done a bunch of missions in already, and we kind of had established good relations with them. And protected from a siege, I think. Was this before or after the siege?
I think it was after the siege. We had already established our good relations with them. And if I recall correctly, in the party at the time, there was you, and you were our party water mage. And there was me, and I was the archer. And then who else was there?
The only other person on this particular mission was Clint.
Okay. And he was running, I think, a dark elf crossbowman / forester?
Light elf, with dark elf crossbows or something. Whatever those are called. The ones with the 3 bolts.
Yes. And so we thought we were going to establish trade relations or some such boring task.
Yes, which sounded interesting enough because, well, you know, it's Aaron. And, like, as a GM, he's going to make anything interesting. So, like, no matter how boring the mission prompt sounds, it's gonna be good.
Pretty much always happens. Besides, even if the mission's supposed to be boring, someone will muck it up, and then it will be interesting.
Sadly, that is the case, but it's kind of awesome.
Pretty much.
Okay, and this was the town that we were going to was the town of Boor, which I remember we should have caught on to it earlier because it was so appropriately named, and it was like a little wild men town, and so let's see, how did it go? The reason that we were going there, Stargell just wanted to like set up relations because that's just what you do with your neighbors and just is a good sort of policy. So we were sent off as ambassadors.
Right. I remember the mission started off really scary because I was off scouting in front and I run into a bunch of Amazon warriors, and so my immediate reaction is to hide because they're crazy Amazon warriors with ridiculously high finesse. And I'm a high finesse character, so people who are almost as good at me or even better than me on finesse is suddenly very scary. But I think you went and talked with them.
Yes, because, you know, my main, the point of me is to be the charm cannon. So, like, yeah, so you're great at finesse, so your first instinct is, hide and watch and see if I can, like, snipe off some people before they start killing my party. And my instinct is, ooh, friends, let's go talk to them and see if they won't kill us.
Yes. And fortunately, Clint decided not to shoot anyone, so that was also good.
I think actually, this mission might have been why Aaron like saw my character Adriana as like the leader type or the de facto leader of the group we ended up having, because we tend to all be such a diplomatic party after we had all of the non-diplomatic people leave for other groups. So anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself.
It also may or may not have been how we got the Disney princess moniker applied for our party. Just, you know.
Which is like the best thing ever. You know how much butt we kicked as the Disney princess party?
Yeah, it was a lot of butt. So,
a lot of butt.
Let's see, because I went and hid in the bushes and watched, and then you went and talked to the crazy Amazon war party.
Yeah, so like I pick out which one is the queen, the leader type person, and I just kind of go forth and like, hi, I am Princess Adriana, daughter of Lord Zurn of the Zurn River, and what's going on? Who are you? What are you doing? And so the Amazons, being Amazons, are all like, well, we're about to go crush some vile enemies and beat up all of these horrible evil wild men who live in this town called Boor, and they killed our husbands and they've stole our food and we hate them and we're just gonna go and smash them to smithereens because it's what we do. Hoorah!
And we were like,
So,
well, darn.
Yes, immediately I'm like, oh crap, because you know that's the town that we're supposed to be going to promote trade relations with. So like they're probably not on our side. So I was immediately terrified because this mission wasn't going to go anywhere good. So the first thing I tried to do in my talking negotiations was to kind of like calm down the Amazon Queen and be like, whoa, wait a second. I don't even remember what I said, but it was something along the lines of, just give us a few minutes, give us some time, let us go ahead to the town and ask them if they will acquiesce to your demands or something.
Yeah, it was some pretty ridiculous demands, though, I think.
Yeah, because the Amazons were like, okay, surrender all your stuff and let us take over peacefully because we say so, or we're going to kill you.
That's never going to happen, but we'll go into the town anyway to see what sort of a plan we can rig up.
Yeah, so we go into the Wildman town, and so I'm like, hello, my name's Princess Adriana, blah, 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 I have a message for your leader. And the soldier watchman people take us to Lord Boghosh of the Wildman town. Oh my goodness. Boghosh was such a great character, but like I didn't like him at first. So because okay, we were led into the chamber and we kind of tell him what's about to happen. Hey, there's some Amazons outside your town, like ready to totally kill you, and they hate you, and they are looking for war. Please don't fight them, and like be nice and don't fight them.
And they were like, yeah, screw this, prepare to fight. And so then we had a bunch of crazy high strength characters inside the town versus a bunch of crazy high finesse characters outside the town. So it was pretty much going to result in kills whenever anyone flubbed a defensive strength roll or a finesse dodge roll, if I recall correctly.
Mm-hmm. Because I mean, even though the Amazons were like mainly high finesse, they packed a punch. Like any of them was a match for our characters at that point because we were like pretty low level.
I distinctly remember being scared of the Amazons.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because there's more than one of them.
There were a lot. I think that we rolled like pretty bad for all of the enemies we were having to face in that particular mission. Because Aaron built it that this was a no-win situation. Like either you side with the Wildmen and like try to protect them and like fight off the Amazons, or you say, hey, we can loot the Wildmen town that we were sent to go make trade relations with, and you side with the Amazons. There's no way that this goes down without somebody dying.
Right. And if we looted the town, then we would kind of fail the mission, although we would get a lot of loot. And if we didn't loot the town, there's, I think, a pretty good chance one of us would have gotten seriously hurt or something, because the odds were pretty crazily stacked.
At this point, I was like actually kind of ticked at the Wildman King because he gave this really rousing speech to his men that are like, we are wild men and we are proud and victorious and we will not bow to the whims of women and their wiles and their bows and their naturiness and stuff. We are too good for that. Raw. And then all the wild men go raw.
Pretty much, yes.
So I was extremely annoyed. I mean, not only as like the diplomat character and the charm cannon, but as a girl, I'm like, you nincompoop. Why? I got up and started pacing because I was so frustrated. Like, I was like, okay, whatever. These wild men have sealed their fate. They want to die? Okay, then. I don't know what to do now.
Yeah, I remember that. You were like, no, they're not. They're just asking for it at this point. Like, they almost deserve to die. And I was like, I don't want to fail the mission. I don't want to fight Amazons, I think is specifically what I was thinking. So I was like, hey guys, you know what would be a really great idea? If we just, like, we've got this strong, crazy male figure over here and this strong, crazy female figure over here, we should just get them married to one another, and then this whole problem will just go away. It'll be great. All of the difficulties will be solved.
And like, at first I think I was like,
It was kind
wait,
of a
what?
weird. It was kind of a weird thing coming from my character, but it made a lot of sense to him. He was like, "Oh, this is clearly the obvious solution: arranged marriage."
Yeah. Well, like the thing about your character is that he's mostly a planner, and like even though he's like, you know, the high damage archer person, he doesn't like killing and he doesn't like fighting when he doesn't have to. And he's extremely good. I think this was the first instance where he really showed like how extremely good he was at coming up with plans that were so off the wall and out there that only our party could pull it off.
Yeah, pretty much. But of course, he's not a charm character at all, so he had to turn to you to implement it.
Yeah, and that was the thing. So, like, as you were saying your plan along the lines of like, oh yeah, you know that thing that people sometimes do, like where there's two warring factions and then they just marry their royals and then there's kind of a peace treaty going on. Let's try that. And I'm like, but they're horrible. And he doesn't like her. And I'm sure she doesn't like him. Where did this come from? We suggest this to Boghosh, and then like something softens about him and he goes into this like eloquent speech. He waxes eloquent about the possibilities that would be opened up if he were to have for his own this beautiful wild creature from the woods of nature and who is so masterfully elegant and diplomatic and such a wonderful fighter that she leads her own band and they follow her and would die for her, and what a wonderful character she must be, and like all this glorious stuff, and like I melt. I just melt.
Your character totally went for that. It was a really good speech, though. Although, in fairness, it was only made after Aaron had rolled the die and it rolled on a 6. So he was like, "Oh my gosh, if it rolls on a 6, then this plan has quite a good chance of succeeding if they pull it right."
Oh, he rolled a 6. Apparently, he's had a secret crush on her all this time.
Right? Yeah, that was exactly how it went down. It was awesome.
If I remember correctly, this is the point where like I kind of established like wild man culture for Zurn, like a wild man tradition, when I suggested to Boghosh, okay, here's what we're going to do. It's going to be you and 2 of your most trusted men, and you and them and I are going to go to this clearing in the middle, in between where you and the Amazons are, and you're going to wait, and I'm going to go talk to the Amazons, and I'm going to like try to make sure that I'm going to bring them over here so that you can talk to them. And so I go, so I flit over to the Amazons and I explain, okay, here's the deal. Boghosh and company are okay with not fighting. And he has a proposal for you.
Yeah, literally a proposal.
And so the Amazon Queen is like, excuse me. What is this? Where did this come from? Why is this scumbag of a wild man coming to woo me, and I'm not going to come to him. He must come to me and prove his love. Because I don't believe it.
You were just rolling charm die like crazy.
Yeah, like I think I rolled some crazy high persuade roll to get her to like come to the clearing. And like I was like, okay, so just you and 2 of your most trusted handmaids, guard, lieutenant people come with me, and he's going to have only 2 of his men. There's not going to be any ambushes. Nobody's ambushing anybody else. There will be no fighting, but you have your people to back you up if something crazy goes down. I'm not going to ask you to walk by yourself into a trap. So that was where the wild man custom that might turn up in later books basically had its birth, like Legends of Zurn.
Yeah.
It's the great courtship of Androctina, Queen of the Amazons, and Boghosh, Lord of the Wild Men.
And he gave quite a nice little speech for himself. I would rate it about a 0 in terms of tactfulness and romance, but it wasn't a bad speech.
It was so cute. Oh my goodness, the poor thing. Like, Androctina is pacing and circling Boghosh like a cheetah around a bleeding gazelle. It's sad. Like, she is charming his pants off, basically.
Pretty
And
much.
he can't say anything. He's like stuttering, the poor thing. And he doesn't know what to do. So I'm immediately like, okay, she does not need my help. He does. So I kind of go more to the middle, or like more to his side. And I remember putting on Whispers of the Wind.
Mm-hmm.
And like kind of trying to do that trope where like you've got somebody whispering in your ear while you're trying to woo the person you like.
Yeah.
I don't know. My advice kind of started getting like lame near the end, but like I think that Androctina was flattered by his interest, and she liked the idea of like kind of having him as a pawn, or at least an admirer. She seemed to be that sort of girl that she just is flattered by the interest and knows what her powers are and how far she can convince people to do stuff.
I also think she immediately saw the utility of combining forces. Rather than fighting with the wild men and probably losing a lot of people, I think she was like, yeah, actually we could do a whole lot worse than teaming up. They got married. I think they had a little, what was it, fire mage or whatever.
Oh yeah, they had like a fire cult thing going on. Yeah, there was like a little ceremony there, and I was like sitting in the back trying to disguise my water nymphness and trying not to choke on all the smoke everywhere.
Yeah. And
but nobody noticed, which was good.
Yeah. And they lived, to the best of my knowledge anyway, they lived happily ever after. They, if I remember correctly, became a pretty strong, successful little community. And we got our trading agreement established, by golly. So nobody got killed and we fulfilled our mission. It was great.
Aaron had built up this like no-win scenario, and we like breezed in and pulled a Captain Kirk basically on everybody. It's like there is no such thing as a no-win scenario.
Aaron did a really good job. That's one of the things I really like about Zurn, is that there's a lot of flexibility to the GM. He has a lot of power to create it, and he can create it in a very structured way or a very flexible way. And Aaron tends to do it more flexibly, which means that if you're creative and clever and you roll your die really well, you can pull off a lot of crazy things. And so I think that was, for me, the really fun part of the mission was having this really kind of crazy idea, and then rolling
and
with
it's made completely viable by the options left open to us.
Yeah, it worked out really well. And it was a lot of fun, and it was like a story that we could tell pretty much forever after. And
and I think it actually helps like cement a lot of our character qualities, because I think that was like I think that was the first mission where I really shined as a like major time charm cannon, like convincing people to do stuff they wouldn't normally do type charm cannon. And you shined as like a mastermind planner behind the scenes, coming up with ideas to be executed by the special talents of your group.
Yes, that was pretty much where I started my mastermind streak, as that character, which was interesting because he was more of a scout woodsman, but it worked out okay. I think it was a really good starter mission for our group, and I had a lot of fun with it, and it's still a fun story to tell.
Oh, definitely. And everybody lived. That was the best part.
Yes.
Like, my character has always been like somebody who doesn't like violence, and like basically, yeah, I'm the Disney princess of the group. So I adore missions where I get to save lives by talking our way out of everything.
Yep.
And oh yeah, and that's one of the things that that is really unique and flexible about Zurn is that a charm cannon, like a non-combat charm cannon, is a viable character, and you can do anything. Like yeah. I invested somewhat in magic, but it's mostly healing because I'm a water mage, and I invested heavily in charm. And so basically, by the time my character had gotten through like our entire mission set, I could tame a dragon, like an actual dragon. Which, okay, all of you people watching out there, it's very difficult to tame a dragon. You don't do it unless you actually build your entire character towards that end. So be careful.
You can do it.
It's possible, but hard. And it was also really funny because once I started, I think after this mission, actually, the Androctona mission, I started really like showing my power as a charm cannon. And after that, everybody else started taking charm. They started taking like charm adjectives and charm defense adjectives, and they're like, ooh, I want to be a charm cannon. Ooh, I want to tame dragons. I want to do all this stuff. And I'm like, that's cute.
Well, it's because you had demonstrated the utility of the charm cannon. You had shown that it could work very useful and could achieve things that violence could not. So
it was really cool that our group had such really strong synergy.
Yeah, we had a very well put together group once we got it figured out. That's one of the, I think, most important things in Zurn is having a group that has good flexibility, good synergy, that sort of thing.
And it will work together with each other and take adjectives and traits that will complement each other's roles in the group rather than trying to like one-up each other or like be substitutes for each other, because that's just a recipe for like disaster.
Yeah, pretty much, exactly, disaster.